This is Pete Moore on Halo Talks NYC. I have the pleasure of having a fraternity brother and a close friend for a long time. Hailing out of Emory University, Dr. Brian Harris. Welcome to your first Halo Talk. I'm excited, bro. I'm excited. There we go. So we reconnected a couple of years ago. I feel like we've been kind of going in parallel paths here with my Halo sector and what you've been doing on the chiropractic side. And also helping a lot of people along the way, not just fixing them skeletally, if that's a word, and also,
it's an acceptable word today.
Mind body-esque. So Talk about your background, and then we're going to talk about the next career move that you're going to make here and pivot in 2024 into coaching.
First of all, thank you very much for having me on, Pimo. And I'm really, it's just awesome to show up and arrive in the Halo sector. And it's been a lifestyle that I've been living, since I'm a teenager, and then just have continued to expand and find out neuroscientifically why I really like it. And we'll break into that in a minute. But my background, I actually didn't finish Emory. I left Emory when you left Emory, so I was only there 2 years. I had a little too much fun. We had a good time.
Really? I didn't know about that. We're gonna have to modify your show notes because I had you as a graduate, but that's okay.
It's all good. But I did actually leave and graduated from University of Maryland with a kinesiology degree. Because, when I was studying at Emory, just was not, I had way too much fun and had to get that out of my system. And that was not the place to have all the fun when you have to get serious.
Times have changed now. I think they've got some brand inflation that we're a beneficiary of.
Yes,
probably not as many kegs.
Definitely.
Not nobody's got kegs along the road, but go ahead.
No, definitely not. So I studied human movement, just became a geek into biomechanics, physiology, all that. So really just my curiosity because movement was medicine for me, meaning I was majorly ADHD, very hyperactive, sleeveless from Jersey, and, just always moving, lacrosse player, surfing, mountain biking, you name it. So then from there, I went to chiropractic school and really focused on posture rehab, more along the sides of like being an orthodontist for the spine. So I practiced pretty intensely for about 10 years in the Rockville, Maryland area, and then pivoted my practice and ran an integrated practice where we did chiropractic, physical therapy, acupuncture, regenerative medicine, all under one roof.
While you were doing that, obviously you're a guy who you either open up or you close down the gym, right? I'm sure we've had several lifting sessions together back in the day, you, me, and Zipper, probably during Rush or something. Did you kind of like push people towards like, hey, you gotta actually work out, you gotta lift, or was it more of like once you're on that chiropractic path, it was more of like exercise is like optional? Did it start to like push more into it?
I'm glad you said that because exercise is optional, movement is essential.
Interesting.
Because there's a variety of humans, right? Like some people can handle pain and movement and things like that much better. I've dealt with every type of socioeconomic class to physical capability, and we all have biochemical individuality. So some people love movement. Now, if I'm talking to the average CEO, entrepreneur, I'm going to say, you got to lift heavy shit till you die. Mm-hmm. Now, really, I can break it down into 5 sections in what's been proven in in peak performance aging as dynamic movement. So strength, stamina, agility, flexibility, and balance. So training all 5 of those things for the rest of your life. If you got to hit all those components.
When you take a look at as you get a new client and as you kind of like perfected your craft, either there's certain questions that you ask or certain like things that they say or things that they do where you're like, okay, I know exactly what's wrong, and maybe some of that's not obvious. So give us some of like the aha moments that, you diagnose a patient or somebody that has movement issues and how that maybe kind of turns you into someone that you're almost like a chiropractic, like psychologist. And it's almost like morphing into like coaching. Cause like, I got to diagnose what the issues are and I got to see it, like feel it. And then I know, and now I could actually like work with you.
It's really awesome that you said a chiropractic psychologist. And I'm going to put that in one word is embodiment. Really, it's like when we experience emotions, there's a somatic mapping of where it occurs in your body. and your body can get stuck from physical trauma, emotional trauma. My training is looking at x-rays and posture and putting math and engineering to what I'm looking at. But for a long time, I ignored that there was a being inside of that. So it's just like, get on the table, do your work, do your exercise, move, make sure you're hydrated, eat well. And the think well and feel well didn't really come into play until I matured myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I got to that point because I hit several levels of my own emotional, cognitive, physical burnout that taught me how to feel what the hell's going on inside beyond diagnosing just a condition like, hip arthritis, back arthritis, spinal degeneration, all those things. And those are all real. Those are all exist. And you have to treat those. And in order to up level your game as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as just a human who wants to live longer, paying attention to what's called embodied cognition, or like using your body to make your brain work better. That's a direction where I've taken it.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense?
So, yeah, totally. So, when you take a look at the health club industry and the personal training, and you've been around it,
Yep.
as an enthusiast and evangelist and a participant, why haven't personal trainers or wellness coaches or people that are in the field kind of like, why don't they dig deeper into like how you're thinking? Or do you need to come from like your level of curiosity, your level of intellect to kind of level down to that? Or like could the average personal trainer, come to this like conclusion of like, hey, this is how you have to think about people. You don't have to think about just as like an academic.
I love the angle you're going, because I think the average personal trainer, cannot do it. But I've met elite personal trainers and they're all at my level. They're all
Right.
coaches. They're like, they could probably spend 2 hours just talking to their clients, but their clients got to get shit done with their bodies, right? So it is a combination of all of that. And I think there needs to be training, because all of these things, like neurobiology, is scalable. We all have the same neurochemistry and hormones going through our bodies. Personality is not. But if all trainers could learn peak performance and flow states, like what it is to help us get into these more often, then it could be scalable. It just, maybe that's why we're meeting, to bring it into the Halo sector
Yeah.
in this.
Yeah. Well, as I'm thinking about like your coaching career that you're about to embark on, like a lot of this might be people that already have established groups and they're just probably not optimizing their members or optimizing their clients.
Yeah.
And maybe they need kind of like your mindset and your process in order to basically like overlay onto their relationships. Maybe that's an opportunity there.
Yeah. And like stack it, right?
Yeah.
So like you gotta have the basic knowledge of like how to train somebody, right? That's like level 1, and you're
Right.
paying a lot less for that. Level 2 is like training for life, which would mean, okay, I gotta actually figure out what's going on emotionally. Because if someone is fighting with their wife and then going to train, 15 minutes later, you're not going to be present, right? So all those things do have a component and relate to how you're going to stay and get healthy.
So somebody said to me the other day, because I told them what my plans are over the next 3 to 5 years, they're like, okay, so you're going to create like critical mass, you're going to become an expert, and then you're going to go pivot and do something else, which it's not really that far off from what I'm doing now, but I want to have like a sports academy and like an executive leadership academy. That's where I get
Love it.
my
Yeah.
juices flowing. So
Yeah.
my question to you is like, you've obviously kind of gotten to the top of your field. So, you and I talking about becoming a life coach or becoming, an executive coach, talk about how you got there and
Mhm.
how you're kind of saying like, hey, I'm going to leave some of this behind, but I'm actually like using it as a trampoline.
Yes. And that's exactly what it is. It's a stepping stool, trampoline. It's exactly just that, because like I mentioned earlier, my own experience of burnout taught me to search for ways to figure out what the hell was going on, because I'm an intelligent guy. I'm a good looking guy. I'm successful. I've done this. I'm like, where did I turn left? Like what happened? And it was, a lack of awareness of how to really take control of my own mind and paying attention to what the hell's going on inside of my body. Like realizing like, okay, I got to get these distractions out of my life. I gotta fight my addictions to dopamine, right? Which are everything else that's exciting in life that's going to distract me from really doing what I want to do. So my own experience, I've trained with therapists, I've trained with coaches, I've done specific work around breath work, specific work with Native American traditions, a whole bunch of things where silence and meditation, where I've just trained myself. And it's nonstop. It's the journey. I wake up every friggin' day and say, okay, who am I going to choose to be? What
Yeah,
makes me feel
yeah.
alive? And how do I keep chasing that?
One of the things, and you got a copy of the book that we sent,
Yes.
the Times of Winning.
Yeah.
One of the things I was thinking about the other day as I was thinking about preparing for this is when you become a life coach, you basically try to coach somebody 365 days a year. Maybe not directly, but like in their head, right? It's like,
Yeah.
I got a coach and therefore, somebody's looking out for me. Somebody wants me to be better. Sports, if you play hockey, professional hockey, you probably play 3 days a week. If you have baseball, probably 4 or 5 days a week. Football, you play once a week. How do you kind of view like the average business executive that you're either friends with or that's a prospective client where you're like, bro, this burnout, like it's almost inevitable at this
Yes.
point because I can't turn my brain off. I slept 3 hours last night and it's because I'm thinking about something all the time. So how do you kind of look at it and say to somebody, hey, if you're going to be a professional athlete, you're going to be a professional executive, like you can't play 365. Like,
Right.
let me show you how to like actually take a day off. Let me show you how to recharge. Let me show you like workout recovery and like my body, like what does that mean? And then I think you coming from it, having like solved it or at least like acknowledged like here's all the puzzle pieces I got to figure out on a daily basis. You could actually say it with conviction and say this is what I did and this is how it worked. And you might have slightly modified.
One, and here's the thing, and it's that again, the work that I'm doing, the way that I'm doing it works for me, but the things that I teach my clients are scalable, meaning the psychological habits, positive psychology, mindset, growth mindset versus fixed mindset. Physically, what do your sleep habits and hygiene look like? Are you exercising daily? Are you putting active recovery into your routine? So I do think being an Olympic level executive is a 365 day, 24/7. But if you're not paying attention to like a flow state is a 4-state process. It's not binary. It just doesn't occur or not occur. Right. So you have to struggle first. Once you get through that struggle, if you have the grit to say, all right, I'm going to keep going a little bit more, then I'm going to take a step back and release. Then you can get into a flow state and then you got to recover because it takes a lot of energy to get into a flow state. So I don't even like calling myself a life coach. I would consider myself a peak performance holistic lifestyle coach. So I'm combining all of those things, but I'm looking at how do you think about thinking, like metacognition, right? Are you thinking about your belief system? Are you open to hearing other people's thoughts? And can you innovate? Can you increase productivity? All of these things are scalable. And but you got to treat yourself as an executive CEO, high level person, sleep is critical. Now, some people can overcome that, but I don't think burnout needs to be a badge of honor anymore. That's really what I've learned is like, okay, I'm facing it. Now what do I do to take a step back?
One of the things I just want to pivot to something else while it's on my mind. There's probably two things where if you said, hey, Pete, let me be your coach and repeat that again. Peak performance,
peak
holistic
performance and holistic lifestyle coach.
Thank you. I'll just call you Peak Performance
I need
Paris.
I need an acronym. Peak Performance Paris. I like that.
Yeah, the triple P. We'll call you like you'll be like a new WWE. Like you could put your put one of your tank tops back on or something.
Love it. I got them. I got one underneath.
Live downstairs in the basement. There's going to come a time when somebody's going to come to you, like maybe it's me. I'm going to come to you and you're gonna like diagnose me, and I'll open up a little here and say, you know what, bro? Like I don't know if I'm ready to listen to anybody, and quite frankly, I don't love myself right now. If I don't love myself, I'm probably not going to help myself. And how are you thinking about thinking about selecting your clients to say, you know what, dude, like you're not ready for me. Or like, I can't help you if you're not willing to help yourself. How do you think about that either from past clients? There are plenty of clients I've represented that I wish I never did because they didn't listen to me. And there are times when I knew that up front and I took the deal because I thought something better was going to change, and I knew, and it didn't. So how do you think about saying no to people? How do you think about just like manning up and saying, look, I'm here for you. I don't want you to fucking pay me anymore because you're not getting what you should get out of it because of you, not because of me. So maybe just like more overarching. How do you think about that?
I learned that in the chiropractic work because I had to fire people. So I had to fire patients because they didn't give a shit. And if I care more than they do, which is exactly what you're saying, then I have to say, look, I love you. I'm ready to help you. And you're not ready to take action steps. Like if we come up with a plan and say, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z by this period of time. And you're just like, no, I didn't do it. And that keeps happening over and over. If I can't diagnose or dive in, because I'm not a psychologist, right? So there may be some underlying issues where I have to say, look, you've got some deep trauma that you need to face. And if you want to live your life that way, that's cool. What's also good is that like I'm getting into this for the passion. I've pivoted because I'm passionate because I'm not chasing the dollar. And I know what my worth is. So my time is valuable. And when I spend time with you, it's not just me talking. It's more listening than talking.
Yeah. So interesting. So there are times when I've talked to people and they say, yeah, I've got an executive coach. I pay X dollars a month. And they must like say it with pride, sometimes how little they spend on it. And it's like, man, that's like a direct correlation. And if you're making, let's say you're making $10,000 a month, should you spend $1,000 or $2,000 towards, if you can afford it, towards a coach that's going to get you better, and that is going to help you get from 10 to 15 or whatever the dollar amount is that you need to make and actually, perform. And then if you think about analogies, when you think about your business model, like what does a caddy make on a round of golf when they win, when the golfer wins? Is it like 10% of the purse or 15%? I don't know. Is there like, like my agent, right? Does my agent make 20% if I'm like an artist? So how do you think about, like, I know what the net worth to me is if I wanted to hire somebody, and it's got to be at least $2,000 to $3,000 a month is what I should spend when I actually take the leap into having a coach. And the reason why I don't right now is because I probably don't want to hold myself as accountable as I should. Yeah. To be honest with you.
Thank you for being that vulnerable. I appreciate that.
No problem. It's my podcast, bro.
Yeah, I know. I love it. I love this is your artist. This is your palette. I want to be in the vulnerable zone, dude.
Fire away, baby.
So I think, truthfully, I haven't been in the field long enough in that way, and I'm going to start thinking about the model that way. It's like, how much are you willing to invest? It's like when I ran my practice, I'm like, okay, I'm going to spend X amount of percentage on marketing. Right. I used to like stay in that 10, maybe sometimes 15% on marketing because you got to spend a shitload of money to get people in the door and butts in the seat. But I love how you're thinking, like the level of a caddy or the level, so I don't have a direct answer for you. And I'm
let's research this because I think it kind of changes the narrative. And then there's sometimes when you go in, with a high number because that's what your worth is, and that's how much value you're going to provide, probably 2, 3, or 4x, just like a marketing dollar, right? If you hire me for $1,000 a month, you're going to get at least $4,000 worth of value, if you want to like take it and like try and account for it in different facets of your life, right?
Yeah.
So, there are times when people come in high and you're like, wow, like, can they really make that much change? And that's why they're priced at that. There was a guy I used to work for back at investment banking, and, we charge, like sometimes on an assignment, we'll charge like $5K a month or $10K a month retainer. And this guy was like an elite advisor to insurance companies. Mm-hmm. And I asked him one time, like, Doug, what are you going to charge like this insurance company? He's like, $75,000 a month. I'm like, $75,000, dude, that's a lot of money. He's like, that's what I'm worth. And I'm going to save them millions of dollars by making the right decisions that they're not going to make on their own. So that's what it costs. And if you want to hire me, that's what I'm worth. So I think he said that with such directness and such assertion that you believe it. And you know that this guy ain't fucking around. Right. When he says like, I know everything about this space and they need to suck my knowledge out. And that's what it costs. It costs, basically $2,500 a day, and I'm available.
I'm picturing him as the wolf from Pulp Fiction.
Yeah. Basically.
You pay him the big bucks to clean up and leave no trail.
Yeah, yeah. He sits there, smokes his cool
Yeah,
cigarettes with
you
a
just
foot.
do that. Yeah.
Yeah, Doug Brown, one of the best ever. Actually from Jersey, Montclair, New Jersey. So shout out to Dougie Brown from
Right.
DOJ. But as you think about going in, so talk for as we close out here. Talk about what kind of clients you're looking for. Do you want them to be local so you could have like direct influence? Do you want to be zooming with them?
I would love for them to be local at this point, and I do online as well. So we can, I've worked with people online. I've worked with people. I'm going to do my best work face to face and you can still do good breath work. You can get into the body from a camera, which is surprising and it's very effective. So I'm open to that. I'm open to working with people live. Best clients are people who want to work on themselves, who are willing to face their edge and, want to up level their lives. If you're in that waffling space and you really don't want to get into personal development and face your shit, that's not the person I want to work with. I want to work with someone who's like, okay, I'm willing to face it.
And how many other people that have come into the coaching space? We'll just use my term coaching for now.
That's cool. It works.
How many people have come in with a doctor, in front of them, in front of their name? And is this, was there a mentor? Did you kind of have your own aha moment and just say, hey, I'm going to go blaze this path. I know it's the right thing to do. I'm not sure if I got all the pieces, squared away, but this is what I'm supposed to do.
Combination. Yeah. So most of the doctors that I've met, I'm part of a couple different groups. One group is a coaching group within the investor space, like in the venture capital space. So I've met some of those coaches are PhDs. No one is like, I haven't met a medical doctor or chiropractor in that space. I'm also part of the Flow Research Collective, which is Stephen Collar. You know him as an author.
I've heard of him, yeah.
Yeah, Rising Superman, Stealing Fire. He's one of the top flow neuroscientists in the world. In that group of coaches, I've met veterinarians, medical doctors, physical therapists. Like I've been around it all. Top level athletic trainers, things like that. So a couple chiropractors also, but people don't take my approach. I'm taking like what I've learned about the body and taking the body and bringing that up so you function better in your brain. And that's really what the biggest difference is.
And as you build, you've been part of some software companies, you've been part of, chiropractic, rollouts, and those have been based on building a brand effectively, right, through people. So how do you think about, is there a brand name for the consulting firm and the coaching firm? Is this Brian Paris? Are you like
right now it's Dr. Brian Paris. I'm playing with the brand. I've got someone picked out that I'm going to work with, but the first step for me is I got to write my book. So I got to tell my story and write the first how-to book.
When's that slated to be
that's slated first quarter of next year. I got to just get to work. So I don't party anymore. I'm just going to get the friggin' work done. So
we did one book and we got another one coming out. So it's a great process to go through, and happy to give you some of our takeaways of how to fast track that. So
and I just want to thank you for being still president and guide.
Thank you, sir.
Presidente.
I'm here to serve, bro. I'm here to serve.
Yes, you are, brother.
I didn't know you left school, but I wasn't there anyway. So
that's right. We left at the same time, but it's
cool. I feel better now.
Our journey. Yeah.
I feel like we graduated together now. Somehow.
We did.
All right, cool. Yeah. Hey, so in closing, you got any good quotes or things that you say to your clients, or like Parisisms?
Yes. This is a good one. This is a quote from me.
Let me decide if I like it. You tell me what it is. All right, okay.
I came up. This is Dr. Brian Paris. So where curiosities converge, passions emerge.
Well, I like it. All right. Could make the glossary.
Yes.
It could make the glossary. I like it. All right, man. Well, welcome to the Halo sector.
Thank you very much.